Week 10, thanks all for coming. Off to Northern Colorado this week. As mentioned, just Coach Hauk today. The team is in meetings to prepare for their practice today. But Coach, your final thoughts on Southern Utah and preparing for a Northern Colorado squad.
You bet. Sorry the guys are engaged, but we've been forced into having a Tuesday format today, so they're meeting and getting ready for practice. So you got me. Southern Utah, we're happy to fight through that one. We had to fight through a ton of adversity, and we went and got the win, which was great. I don't know that I've ever been part of a game that we had that much go against us and still won the game. So we're happy to be back in the top 10 in terms of rankings, and we're ready to go for Northern Colorado, who's a good team. In my opinion, they've played very well lately. They appear to be healthy and getting healthier. They've reworked their team through the transfer portal, and they've got a good-looking team. So offense, they're doing some good things. They have good skilled players. Defense, lots of pressure and man coverage. They've got a heavy package on offense. It's going to take some work this week. So they're providing a heavy prep for us this week. Go.
Coach, I'm sure when you look through Saturday, probably some mistakes to clean up, but also, like you said, some weird stuff that happened too. So how do you sort of balance those two things? Obviously, you want to clean up what you can clean up, but some stuff may be out of your control.
Yeah, a lot out of our control, I think, but a lot in our control. We need to quit making mistakes as best we can. Sometimes when you're as inexperienced as we are, that's going to happen, but that doesn't mean that we have to accept it as coaches or players. So we'll do our best to try to fix it.
Seems like when quarterbacks stand in the pocket and they can take the pressure, take the hits, and then make the throws, that seems to be one area where offenses can have success against you guys. Is there a way to sort of mitigate that, or I guess get over the top on maybe taking those guys to the ground early? Or what do you think of just how maybe a quarterback that stands in the pocket affects your defense?
Well, that affects every defense, not just ours. I mean, if they can hang in there and hang in there and let it pop open and find them, that's ends up being good for the offense, generally speaking. I mean, whether it's Friday nights or Saturday afternoons or Sundays, that's pretty much the way it works. I did mention that about Southern Utah's quarterback last week, being persistent with that and having the courage to do it. So good job by him.
Bobby, you talked about Kevin Macias's performance this year, just as transfer kicker who stepped up big for you guys. As a transfer, is it difficult for kickers to acclimate into programs in your experience? Have you noticed that, or do they acclimate fairly just like anybody else, like a freshman might would?
Well, my cross section for that's I think Kevin. So he's done a good job. Obviously, I think it's more about his teammates like him, feel good about him. He's a good kicker. He's assimilated well into the team, but I think that's personality more than anything. He's hitting the ball through the post.
And just, the kicking game as a whole, obviously Brian Buschini as well, stepping up at punting and, kickoffs. Just, what'd you like about him, to give him kind of that big role, or as one of these young guys too, as you mentioned, just kind of some of these inexperienced guys stepping up?
Well, our specialists are doing a good job, and the guys around him are. I mean, that's kind of how it works. Those guys in the kicking game are playing really hard and well, and when the guys that are putting their foot to the football do a good job, it really helps, certainly.
Coach, does Northern Colorado offensively, are they similar to any team that you've faced so far this season?
Well, everybody we play is pretty similar, As I mentioned, they will get in a 14 heavy package here and there, which presents some preparation problems. We're going to have to spend quite a bit of time on that this week. Other than that, they're real similar to a lot of teams we play.
How would you describe what Mccaffrey brings to them at the quarterback position, obviously an FBS drop-down?
He's a good player. He's a big kid. He's pretty durable. Throws it pretty well, pulls it and runs it pretty well. He's obviously coach's kid and grew up around it. He's got a good handle on things.
And was kind of more so going to ask the players this, but going to be playing on grass. I think the only grass game on the schedule. Kind of weird.
It's turf, I think.
Is it turf now?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
man.
now you don't get to ask me that irrelevant question.
Fair enough. What about defensively? Who stands out?
It's not a dome either. I'm just kidding. I'm joking. Yeah, it's not a night game either. God. Defensively, what were you asking, Shauner?
Who stands out defensively for them?
I like their front. They've got pretty good players at each level. I like their front. It's Monday. I'm getting a pretty good taste of them, but don't have it fully diagnosed. But his name escapes me. Number 34, their defensive ends guy. We got to keep an eye on. He's hard to handle.
David Hogue, I think.
David Hogue, that's it.
They've won.
Good.
They've won 3 games by scoring 17 points. So, what do you think that says just about their defensive effort? I mean, they've been pretty good defensively.
Well, they're doing a couple things. I mentioned after the game last week that we thought it would be another game where they tried to shorten the game, so that lends itself to some of that. They're not. They're certainly not trying to get 100 plays on offense, so that helps. But their defense has played well for sure. They're good.
What do you hope are the biggest lessons your guys took away from Saturday's game?
That when things go against you, you keep fighting and you find ways to win.
And we talked about the issues in the game. What are the easiest of those issues to correct quickly going forward, and what are some of the more challenging ones?
Refresh me on what issues we talked about.
Penalties.
Penalties?
turnovers,
Well, by asking me about penalties, the way you phrase that question, you're indicating you think those are good or legitimate calls. I don't have a public opinion on whether they were or they weren't. So, what'd you think? Well, do that, and we can talk further. Watch it.
Around McCaffrey, they have some of those FBS drop-down guys. Anybody that particularly stands out? I know they have the receiver with a lot of speed.
Yeah, the receivers really stick out. They get the one kid from Washington State and the one kid from TCU that are leading them in catches and yards per catch. They're good players, for sure.
Coach McCaffrey, that was a splash just because of who he is. I think people around this area care about him a lot, too, because the Broncos were on TV so much, in the 90s. But what do you think of just this sort of strategy is the wrong word, but just like the boost it can give a program from a publicity standpoint to have a guy with that sort of name recognition?
Well, obviously we like Ed, know him. Ronnie Bradford played with him. My brother played with him. Ed, coaching at Valor. Everybody was through there. They were at our passing tournament at UNLV, so we've all known him for a long time. It's good to win the press conference. Certainly, it gives you a little boost. But then, for all of us in coaching, you got to go compete, and so that it ultimately comes down to that.
You mentioned the Valor Christian element. That one's interesting to me because that's like a college prep program, right? Pretty much everybody that starts there is going to go play Division I football. So, you probably recruited there. What do you think just of the prestige of that high school?
Yeah, in all the different locales, there's some private school football programs that are kind of machine-like, and heck, some of them have bigger recruiting budgets than we have. But Valor's one of those. They've been awfully good. Regis does a good job too, in the Denver area. But there's Gorman in Vegas, and there's O'Day and Eastside Catholic, and Kennedy out in Seattle, and Jesuit in Portland, and those are the ones in the region.
You've talked about how well you guys have played on the road this year. I guess what's the confidence?
Well,
going
that's
on the
secret,
road?
Sean. That's coming out Wednesday.
That's true.
I'm just kidding.
Well,
Go
you have
ahead.
mentioned it before. That I believe.
No,
no, you guys.
I have not.
You haven't? All right. Well, you guys have played well on the
all right,
road. There
I'm
we
kidding.
It's
Go
out
ahead.
there. What gives you the confidence, kind of going on the road? Why do you think that is?
Well, I don't know why that is, but we've played well on the road, really well. Like as I mentioned with you yesterday, maybe maybe a smidge better than we have at home. I don't know why that is. Maybe we're healthier when we took the road to play those games. I don't know.
You said Northern Colorado was playing better recently. Why is that, and where exactly do you see that?
That's probably a better question for them. I just think they're playing better. You know, I watch early games, I watch late games, clicking through them. Just think they're playing better. I don't know why that is.
And did you get to watch their film already against Sacramento State?
I did.
How were they? What did they do that they were almost able to beat them?
You know, again, that's probably a better question for them. But watching it, you know, I thought their defense has played well throughout. I thought they were more consistent on offense. Probably executed a little bit better.
Then you mentioned they also brought in a lot of transfers. Just
They did.
in your experience over the years, what does it take to bring in transfers and be able to have some success early on right away after bringing them in?
You know, I don't know, because we haven't really gone full sail into that.
Is it November 1st today?
It is.
We're into November. So what do you think of just
All Saints Day, I think.
What do you think of just the status of where you guys are at right now, or how would you evaluate where Montana's at right now?
We're injured. We're injured, and we're fighting to get back for Saturdays and be competitive on Saturdays. That's where we are right now. That's where we are.
In all my time covering you, you always want guys to practice to be able to play. How frustrating is it when guys maybe can't get the practice time necessary to prepare?
Well, I mean, if the theory that the reason you practice is to improve whatever the sport applies, well, then that's going to dictate your performance on Saturday. So if you can't practice, you can't play well, if you follow that dictate. So we do the best we can and try to get ready, and then limp out there on Saturday and try to get a win. That's what it's going to be this week too.
Sean kind of asked this last week just about, you know, just the sheer number of injuries, but that coupled with just kind of the inexperience of the team with so many young guys stepping in, has this just been one of the more challenging stretches with those two kind of going head to head with each other?
Yeah, it goes a little bit back to what I said to Coulter. If a guy's a 4-year starter and has played, 40 games, and he misses a couple of days of practice, he can probably catch up on the film, and he's probably technically sound and has seen a lot of things come at him. When you've got a guy that hasn't played many games, is inexperienced, if he can't go get the looks during the week and actually go do them, he probably will struggle.
Anybody else?
You mentioned that on the road you seem a bit more confident. So are you happy that you
I didn't say confident. I said we played better.
play better?
Okay.
Are you happy then that having 2 away games stacked up right before you return home for the Cat Grizz game?
No, I want to play every game here. So no, I don't. No. I like being here. I like being at home. I like sleeping in my own bed, and I like playing in front of our fans.
Anybody else?
Hey, Bobby, we saw Nick Osmo out there for just one run Saturday. Was that the plan for him to just go out there for one play?
He played 5 plays.
Okay.
Anybody else? Thanks, everyone.
Yep.